Yes, hello, hello. Hi, Shannon.
Hello, Marianne. How are you?
Very good. How are you doing? Yeah, we just talked already. So yeah, I'm here with Shannon in an interview because Shannon was with me in a program or in two programs, let's say. So before we start, who doesn't know me yet? I'm Marianne. I am autonomy guide, and yeah, I'm working with pioneering mentors with people that bringing special things into this world. Yeah, so, and I'm here with Shannon, and we were working together about 10 months, let's say, right? And yeah, and what she achieved and experienced in working with me in this program, she's going to tell you in a minute. I would just like to introduce her quickly. Yeah, Shannon lives in New York. So, what she does, she will tell you herself. And yeah, she is on her way on her own autonomy path. Shannon, do you want to tell us more about your path and where did you come from and where you're heading?
Sure. Thank you, Marianne. Um, my name is Shannon. I live in New York City and I work in financial services. And I've been a professional in financial services for almost 20 years now. Um, so the reason why I reached out to you, Marianne, and to really kind of get into what I was looking for in life is because I had sort of, especially during the pandemic, I felt like I was at the mercy of others. I felt as though, um, I was living a lifestyle that I really wasn't in control of. And I really wanted to understand that. And I really wanted to, sort of find my purpose and find more meaning in my life. Um, so I was looking for change and I wasn't sure where to go or where to turn, but I knew I needed something.
Yeah, you're referring mostly to the job situation you were in, right?
That had a lot to do with it. Yes. I worked in a really highly regulated industry. I still do. It's offered me lots of opportunities, and it was a great opportunity to um, reach some level of financial stability in my life. I needed to support a family. I have a daughter and a husband, and I wanted to ensure that I could financially support, my family and our lifestyle, which was all good for a while. And I was learning, and things were going well, except there was always this little bit of nagging feeling inside of me that
Mm.
I could perhaps do things differently. Like I had always come from a background, most of my family works in public service, like all of my brothers and sisters and lots of uncles and aunts. And so we're definitely a service, come from a service background. And I've always had this focus on people, like how to make life better for people. And so working in financial services, it's so indirect. And the things that I really enjoyed about my work was the fact that I got to mentor a lot of young people. And in fact, I became like a manager and a trainer of young people. And that I did find fulfilling. And so at a certain point, I realized that that really is my focus. And you helped me get there to figure that out, like what my actual purpose and what motivated me about, my work. And it's always been about people.
Yeah, let's see how you got there. First off, I remember when we got there, there was like, oh my God, this is something I really want to do, and this makes total sense. But let's just first make it a little bit clearer where you were coming from when you started working with me. So, what was your situation? What was the pain points for you when you approached me, and what was the thing you really wanted to change and needed to change?
Sure. When I reached out to you, I felt almost desperate. Um, I was completely burnt out. And some of it had to do with the pandemic. I mean, it was a fiscal crisis as well as a social, medical, health crisis. I mean, it was a crisis on so many levels and disrupted people's lives in unprecedented ways. But the work demands were great. And I realized, I was sort of let my boundaries down during that period more than ever. I think I've always sort of struggled with maintaining strong boundaries. But at that point, I really felt like I was just being pushed along and I didn't have any say and I didn't have any power. And that led to this feeling of burnout where when I felt, and I mean it in a significant way, I was numb. Like I felt no emotions. I was completely disassociated from myself, from my family. I mean, I was there, I was present, I was doing all the things that I was supposed to do, but I was completely empty of any kind of emotion. And then I had physical issues. I had frozen shoulder where my whole shoulder froze up and I couldn't use my arm. I started to gain a lot of weight. I started to see like my blood pressure was going up. Everything was heading in the wrong direction. And I didn't know how to change. I didn't know how to get out of it. And I knew change was possible. And, I'd always watch some of the things that you had been, some of the work that you'd been doing and always like, wow, Marianne really did, create a lifestyle with a lot of autonomy and freedom. And I would look at some of the things you wrote and be like, wow, how did she do that? And that always stuck in my mind. So one day I reached out.
Yeah, I remember Instagram, like ding, 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 Shannon is writing to me. Yay. Sorry. Yeah. I remember all these days. So yeah, we started working then. And yeah, what was your most important goal you wanted to achieve? What was the first thing you wanted to solve for yourself, where you were heading?
During our first program together?
Yeah, when you
I
started.
just wanted clarity. I was sort of lost in the shuffle.
Clarity in how to do things, or what else you could do, or in life.
Like what was I even functioning with any sense of purpose at all? Because I felt like I was just doing what was expected of me on all levels. And then something was out of sync, and you helped me to really kind of step back and evaluate, what gives me joy, what gives me a sense of meaning and purpose in my life. What am I good at? Like, what skills do I have that I could utilize to one, help me and my family, but also to help society at large, right? Like if you could find the place where you really have value and find your flow, like you're only going to make life better for others around you. So I really had to kind of dig deep to understand where my intrinsic value or my intrinsic skills lie. And I think that a lot of what I was good at was laying dormant because I was trying to fit myself into this role. That part of it was satisfying, but something was missing. So I think that inventory, really stepping back, stepping away and looking at my situation objectively to evaluate, what am I actually good at and what do I actually like doing?
Yeah, what do you really want to do here, really? Also, I remember. And do you want to tell a little bit more about how you really felt in certain situations? I can remember there was anxiety, because so many people have anxieties in these situations, especially today, in these days, which holds them back in the situation where they just get stuck and look not to feel the anxiety.
Sure. Part of my anxiety was like I really felt like I had weak boundaries at that point where I was just doing what was expected, and people would and I am very efficient. And then all of a sudden I found myself like not saying no and having so much on my plate that I was trying to get it all done, but it was never done to the right level of precision, and everything was a little bit rushed, and I was trying to keep up, and it went on this way for a good year, where I just needed to step back and say, strategically say no to people, and be like, oh, or kind of just take control. Like, maybe I can help you with that, but here's how I'm going to help you, instead of them putting it on me. Taking ownership back of how I spend my time.
Yeah. And what did really help to do that? Because I remember you were on high speed most of the time.
Yeah. It's
So
hard to get out of it. We did some reflective work. We did meditative work together, some guided meditations, some visualizations, you know, really thinking strategically about how I want to spend my time. You know, it is my life, it is my time. I get to decide how I spend my time, and sort of back in, like, re-engineer
right.
my life, right? Like, what do I really need? I need to make a living for my family. I need to take care of myself. Well, I need to take care of myself first and foremost, and you helped me see that
So
without caring for myself, I didn't have the strength to care for others.
right. It was your own priority setting
Yes.
at the first. And was it, would you say it was also the connection with your precious lifetime to realize? So yeah, what you just
Yeah.
said, that this is not important. This is important because it's your time.
Yes. And then I know you emphasize a lot, like, how if people feel more connected to their true nature and nature, you know, getting out of, because I live in a city. And I did take your your advice, and I rented a house in the country for a summer and really took it easy. Like,
Yeah.
literally just sat amongst the trees and watched the animals scurry about, honestly. And
Yeah.
you know, swimming in a lake, and like just trying to get in touch with that more natural side of myself that isn't always competing.
Yes. And that is way beyond the mind. Usually the mind tells us, oh, you have to be better here. That's the so-called ego, let's say.
Yeah.
This takes over, then stress starts usually. Yes.
Try to
So
take the word I should out of my vocabulary.
yeah, and you were in the water, and there we are by the water. Because yeah, water helps. Water is the element. That's our origin element. This is where you literally can feel the essence.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then and did you wonder what, when you were in the water and in nature, if everything in the city you were doing, how important all this is still when you were out there outside in the nature? So how important is this really, what you're doing? Did you wonder this? Did you ask the question?
Yeah. It made me think of, you know, mindfulness, because when you're walking in the woods, you know,
Yeah.
you're in a natural environment, and you're focused on the here and now, because you have to watch where you're going. You have to watch for, you know, go on hikes. You'd have to watch for any dangers and keep your eyes open, and be really rely on your senses. I particularly feel this in the ocean, right? Because an ocean is a wild environment. And when you're in the ocean, you must be in the now, because you're paying attention to, you know, all the things that could potentially, you know, be dangerous, right? So you're in the here and you're now, and you're aware. And that awareness makes you, you know, you're living in that moment. You're not thinking about the future, and I should do this, I should be, oh, I should be. That word is a terrible word for me. I should be doing more. I should be working harder. I should be. And that word sort of just fades away, and you're like, I am.
Exactly. Yes, thank you. Oh, I love this. Yeah, because this I should is always who is really talking here.
Right.
Who is saying this actually?
And that's why I love nature, because I'm in the now. I am. I'm not worrying about becoming something or being, you know, or
Yes.
yeah.
And this is what this is all about, to be in this I am state. And then there is no rushing, no hustling, no, I have to do this and that. It's just you.
Yeah.
I remember when we were calling from there. Yeah, so you had some goals also in this first phase, let's say. And yeah, how did you achieve all these goals? We were working on the purpose, and yeah, so working through the emotional state and then talking about the purpose.
Right.
There. So yeah.
Yeah. First, I had a little bit of anger I had to work through.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that too.
When we first met, I was like raging about things like, and furthermore, and then as time went on, it became much more like, oh, today I worked on this, and today, it became much more about what I was actually doing. But I had to get that emotion out.
Yeah.
But then it became much, much more productive. And you held me accountable, because there were moments where I was rushing around and stressed and still living in that zone. And I was like, oh, I have to make time for this hour session, but I have to do this or that. And you would hold me accountable, like, you signed up, the hour starts now, this is your hour.
That's what I do.
Yeah. And by holding me accountable, I'd be like, for 1 hour at that time, I was like, okay, I won't answer the phone. I won't look at anything. For 1 hour, I'm going to be here with you.
Yeah.
And I think that was the start of it. But I did need you to hold me accountable, because there were so many times where I was just like, I'm too busy, I'm going to cancel. And you're like, this is your hour. It's not my hour.
Exactly. You're not doing it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're saying this, because I see this again and again, where people just put themselves always at last. Yes, I have to do this, and then I have to do that. And maybe at the end of the day, when it's midnight, I may have 1 minute of time for myself.
Yes.
So question is, how will you ever change your life when you put yourself last?
And I journaled throughout the whole process.
Yeah.
I bought a new journal the day we started, and I still use it. I don't use it as much. Maybe I should get back to it. But I read through from the beginning until to the last entries, and boy, have they changed. It went from this feeling of despair and hopelessness to, realizing that, the creativity that lay dormant for years, as I was just kind of doing the job descriptions and like doing what was required of me, started to come out. And all of a sudden I'm like reading these passages I wrote, like, wow, that's really evolved. Like, I could see the evolution in my journaling.
Very great. Oh, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Because this is why you journal, right? So that you can go back and see, hey, where did I start? Oh my God, I just remember I felt this and that. And then you read into the details. Oh shit, this was it. And now it's that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was
and
like a grief. Yeah, grief stage.
Yeah. And this was just half a year.
Yeah.
Would you have expected to do this on your own in half a year to get to that new state?
I don't know. I was really pretty lost. It probably would have taken a lot longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it started out like this feeling of despair, then it went to anger, and then it started to get much more productive and creative. And now it's actually inspiring.
By the way, for everyone else seeing this here, anger is often part of the change process, because that makes you grumpy, because you are leaving the warm, old, stinky sofa, which was comfortable for a long time, right? Where you were at home. And then it's like, I have to stand up. I have to move my body. Oh, damn, I need to change. That makes people angry often.
Yes, but it was like a trap, right? You're stuck,
Exactly.
but you have to get out of the trap.
Yes, this is what it is. But just, to realize the anger, all the emotional part, this is just normal part of the change.
But you can't get stuck there, because that's not where the creativity comes from.
No, exactly. Because when you're in this functioning mode, you're in that machinery where you're just fulfilling, how I always call this, what's it called in English? Orders of others, let's say. Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, done. Okay, next, done. Oh God, I want to go home. Done.
Yeah, to-do list. Check, check, check.
Right. And then, okay, let me die right now. Let the day be over. When is weekend? When is vacation? Yeah. I had the same long time ago. And that's when I decided, no, this is not, I'm not born for that.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my God. And then of course you are not creative, because you are not in the divine creativity, because there's nothing challenged here. You just have to fulfill, like a slave, certain tasks to achieve other people's goals, which is usually corporations, higher numbers, more profit, blah, 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 etc.
Yes, especially as the world changes, it's critical, because I don't know, we're getting more into the second program that you and I
Yeah.
worked on.
Yeah, we can switch there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because, once I had that sense of myself again and understanding what value I had and what gives me meaning in life, which was critical, which was the first step, and like
Mm.
getting calm with myself and sort of taking charge of my schedule, where all of a sudden I had more free time to think,
Mhm.
and learning to say no to things, and which was hard at first because I felt like I was being left behind, and I still struggle with that a little bit. I'm still, working, and I'm still trying to be part of that, yet I'm holding my boundary. And there's moments where that's difficult to do. But and we will see where the future takes me in that regard. But I started to see the world changing, and I started to see how, and you can read about it all. I mean, it's not it's out there. It's news to everyone. The automation, how much more automation is being implemented, how much AI is being utilized, how Chat GPT is taking over
Mhm.
a huge amount of functions that are really going to displace a lot of people in the workforce. And no matter what people say, oh no, it's not going to take away jobs. It's just going to, change jobs. Well, okay, maybe. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe that's true. But with all these tools, that do so much of what we've spent our time on, the only way you're going to be able to use them effectively and create a sustainable life for yourself is through your creativity.
Yes.
Like that's all you really have to focus in on that. Like your creativity is the only thing that's going to keep you relevant.
Yeah, because you use it for yourself. You're accessing your own resources, what you really are and what you can do here. You're not relying on someone else's plans anymore, because you can just build your own safe ground,
Yes.
which is
And your authenticity, like it has to come from you. Like no one can take away your experiences and what you've learned over the years. And
right.
then when you free yourself to allow yourself the creative thinking, that's a culmination of your whole life up until now. Like that's where the value is. That's where you must focus your energy.
Yeah, this is where you discover your own value.
Yes.
And then the next step can take place, which is working, yeah, for the better for others, because this is what every soul is alive here on the planet for. We are not here to just fulfill some numbers, tables, machines, or whatever. We are here to work together, to create something together. It's a divine order, basically, we are in, not basically, entirely.
Mm-hmm.
You can see this in nature. You see it in nature, right? The divine order. You see the what's it called? The golden ratio.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is in harmony by nature, and we are part of this. And that's why you have a place in life with your unique being and abilities and tasks and missions and whatever. And it's all about being clear about to be able to do it. And then everyone is safe and secure in Mother Nature's abundance.
Mm-hmm. You have to have confidence to do that, though, because we've been programmed differently.
Yes.
That's
why we have the new time of change now to get out of this.
Yes. And it does take a level of confidence and bravery in some way to, try to just take hold, understand the value that you have and not just follow along.
Yeah. What would you say is most important to realize to, let's say, to get out of this, or to gain the courage? Yeah, what is necessary really to take that step?
It's funny, it's still an evolution. I don't know that I'm 100% where I want to be, but by stepping back and looking at yourself objectively and taking, like I said, the shoulds, I should be, just stop and just be in the moment and just be who you are.
Right.
And realize that your thoughts are valid. Like when you discover your creativity and you're creating new things and you look at it and you start to realize that you have a lot more to offer than you even think. I also think about, I train a lot of young people, right? So they come out of college and they have all these desires and dreams and things they want to do. And they take a job. And I think about this in myself too. So you take a job based on a job description that is this defined list of things that you will do. And you come and you take it and you try your best to be as good at it as possible. And you really want to be successful. And you put all this effort in to like, I'm going to do these things to the best of my ability. Well, many times that just utilizes one part of like your talents, one part of your capabilities, right? So there's people, and I see it all the time with young people who come in and they do the job and they get good at the job and they're saying, hey, but I really have this idea about doing this. And I'm like, oh, sure, we'll take that into consideration, but I really need you to get this job done. And you're trying, and I know it seems as though companies are trying to be able to harness that talent in new ways, right? But it's a big, these are big organizations with long histories and cultures that may not allow for it very easily, right? So it's, the thing that I try to guide people to is like, you need to have some independence and autonomy. And maybe you're just doing this job description, to make a living, right? But you don't let go of any of those thoughts that you have about some of the things that you want to create. And I say, maybe I'll try to find the right fit for you within this company. I don't know if I can, but don't let go of those things. Those things are intrinsically you, and you should find your outlet for those things, right? So I never want to fit people into a box. And sometimes, the reality is, well, we pay you for this and I need you to do this. But this other side that you're talking about is intriguing and I love it. And I really want to explore those things and understand those things because I value their creativity. So there's that balance too. So, some people may opt out and may say, I don't want to be in this narrow job description. I want the freedom to be, to do more.
Yeah.
And I think some of the new technology, if you think about it correctly, like it is going to disrupt the workforce, but it is going to create all these opportunities. And that's where that creativity piece comes in.
Yeah. And at a certain point, you said in the call that, oh my God, you and me, people like you and me, we are going to be needed so much because so many people will need guidance and help here when they have to leave their jobs, when jobs are just gone.
Yeah, actually, there's been some layoffs recently in the news, and who knows how many more are coming. Our economy is behaving in, I don't know, it's hard to predict. It's behaving in ways that are hard to predict. There's pressure out there that has yet to really come to fruition. And I'm not going to get into economics, but we know it's out there, right? You can read all about it. There's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of shifts that are going to continue to happen. And good people will lose jobs and they'll need to figure out, what are they going to do next? And so I think with all the transition and change that we're going through, people need to be thinking about that now.
And that was basically more or less the reason also that you joined the next program, Activation, to get more clearance, right? Or clarity, let's say, what you want to do. And because what we find out, to come back to the purpose from before, you felt pretty clearly that you are there for these graduates, younger ones, and everyone who feels, hey, I want to be myself. I don't want to be a robot of a corporation anymore, or something like this.
Yeah. And it is interesting because you do see, and I'm trying to be fair here, I do see corporations trying to adapt.
Yes.
But I also know that they're driven by the bottom line. And if automation is going to drive the bottom line, successful bottom line, then that's automation it will be. Yeah. If human, they still need, you're never going to replace human creativity. It's still needed, but to what extent? So yeah, the world's changing, and I think people need to stay open and adapt with it and not feel, so confined by convention.
Yeah, and they came to you a lot, right? Because they felt that you were interested in them and no one else was.
I believe so to a large extent, yes. And then I've also done things outside of work. taking philosophy classes, and it's interesting because you talk to young people there, and they're all very open-minded people, which is why they're there. And I would talk about my experiences, and I always felt a little like, I was older and I wasn't part of the whole team or group or whatever, but I would just be honest and like share my experiences. And at the end of it, a lot of young people came up to me and they're like, I really appreciated hearing your experiences, and we're so happy you shared them, because I wasn't sure how it was being received.
Yeah.
And they were kind of standoffish. I was older, that sort of thing. But at the end, when we had a party at the end, people felt free to come over and like, wow, like some of your stuff really made me think. And all I was doing was being honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And truthful. And that's what people want to hear.
That's the time. This is the quality of time. People are tired of all this, let's call it lies or fake, or whatever is going on, have to follow this and that rule. It's time for themselves here now. You can feel on all levels. So yeah, so let's look where you start in activation. So what was the situation when last November it was?
Yes.
And what goals did you want to achieve?
So I realized I had more sense of purpose, and I was getting calmer as time went on. I was utilizing some of the skills I developed about reflecting and using the meditation and just taking time to sit and let myself think my thoughts without being so busy. So that was helpful. But then, you realize just because you have a sense of direction, a better sense of direction, didn't mean that I knew exactly what to do with it. And I still was really hesitant about expressing myself publicly. One-on-one, I'll tell you whatever you want to know, especially if I, build trust with people. But I needed to take it a step further. Like I wanted to be able to express myself more freely and put myself front and center, yet I was afraid. And I still am to some extent, like when you, they call it professional managerial class. Like there's things you get from being part of the professional managerial class, right? There's a certain level of, prestige and acceptance and all these things. And you're like, oh, do I want to go against the grain? It feels awfully scary. So it's sort of baby steps, where I just started to write. I just started to write to get even more clarity. And I started to write what's important to me. And I stopped thinking about what other people want and what other people thought, and just like try to put my thoughts down on paper. And then I started blogging. It's in its early stages, but I was writing blog articles and I was creating a website, and I spent months creating this website, a long time, because I could not hit the release. I could not hit the button to make it public. I was too scared, honestly. And I was like, well, what do I have to say? Who wants to read my thoughts? And then, through the work and getting more sense of what I was doing, how to utilize my new, skills that we had developed together, I was like, it's time to share some of this, but I'm a little bit hesitant. I don't want to be public. I don't want to be front and center.
Yeah, that was the next phase, the comfort zone next phase it was.
Yeah. And it's still evolving. It's still a work in progress. But
you're online, you hit the button at the end. So
I'm like, there it is, for better or worse.
Because
I'm still careful. I don't want to offend anyone. And I'm being a little bit cautious. But what it helped me do is find my space in the world, like carve out a little something of my own and allow myself time to let it evolve.
Right. And this is maybe an important thing to underline here. This is not about you are being stuck in a certain situation, but this is more about being very conscious about what is actually going on. What is the change? Why, to look also why I am still there where I'm at, what I'm holding on to, or what is happening within here in this phase. Because you want to help others in that field, right? As a future, let's say, kind of a mentor in whatever field it's going to be, you want to know what this process all includes. What anxieties can be there? What, oh my God, all these ideas people have in their minds. What if? All the what ifs, meanwhile, probably. So you can share all this. This is an important part of your work later.
Yes.
For your consultant work or mentoring
Yes,
work.
interesting you bring that up because I had to change industries already once.
Mm,
And I don't think it's unusual for people to have to shift gears in the middle of their career. But, I had a career in a different industry. It was a print industry. I worked with, magazine publishers to get the
mhm,
work produced and distributed. And as I was doing that, I started to see technology coming in that was changing that industry.
mm,
And it was really going to change it in fundamental ways. And I was watching it and I was like, wait a minute, I can't sit still. I can't just sit here and do this. This is changing faster than
mm.
anyone expected. And I remember having the courage then to be like, oh, I need to do something else. And I went back to college and I studied, again, people focused, public policy, because, I studied public policy because I wanted to help people. I wanted to come up with, figure out ways that made people's lives better. I ended up, focusing on the financial side, which is fine because you need the money and resources to do things. And I thought, okay, well, let's follow this trajectory and, figure out how to get things funded. So that's how I ended up in finance. But my real purpose was about making people's lives better. And I'm in this position now where I see, technology changing things so drastically.
Mm.
And I see people, gearing themselves up, studying and getting ready for these big careers with these shifts going on. And I'm like, you need to keep your eyes on this, and look forward to figure out like how you can adapt and stay relevant. And I think a lot of the work that we've done together in that creative thinking and understanding your value is, how can I share that? I want to share that, right? That experience that I had. Like, how did I know that I needed to adapt back then to stay relevant?
Yeah,
I lost sight of it as I got older, but like, you still need to keep your eye on that.
and this is the process of getting closer and closer to your purpose, to be more aware of it, to become clearer about it. So when you look back, everything makes change. My God, everything makes sense.
Yeah.
One day when you look back, oh, this is why I did that. Oh, this is why I experienced that.
Yeah.
So this is how you get closer and closer. And that's why I always say this takes your time because it's a natural process.
Right.
You cannot just pull a plant out of the soil to make it grow faster, right? So what many people want out there, but yeah, you just need to go within you, and then it's the fastest way you can do, and it's still fast, I think.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. And like, you brought that up, like natural process and getting used to it. Like the idea of perfectionism, like, oh, I can't do it until it's perfect. I can't do this until it's perfect. I want it to be tighter. I want it to be more. I let that go. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if what I have to say is perfect. I don't know, but I know that I've lived a full life, and I've had plenty of experiences, and I'm a thoughtful person. And I try to make those experiences make sense. And I try to understand the world around me. And you know what? All I can do is share that. And that's enough. I don't have to be perfect.
Yeah, what does that mean is that you don't have to think like 10 steps ahead of you, controlling the possible outcome and be prepared for it, right?
Yeah.
So you just do one step after the other, and after that maybe comes a total different, not maybe, usually it comes a total different step than you
Right.
might have anticipated. And
Right. Otherwise you're stagnant.
yeah.
But it
Yeah.
takes bravery. It takes bravery because you're like, oh, I'm going to put something out there. Is it good enough? I don't know if it's good enough. Maybe it's not. You know what? Maybe it's oops.
Oops.
Maybe it isn't at this stage, but maybe it will evolve. I mean, I don't know. I don't like to be perfect anyway, but the evolution will continue. And I'm sorry I dropped my camera there.
Oh, good. Okay. That's all the energy here.
Just keep that evolution going. It's an evolutionary process.
Right. And this is everything what's needed. You said it before, in the now. You be in the now. And this is what matters.
Right.
Because what's happening, this is, by the way, the abundance, the natural abundance. You bring something out into the world and you receive a feedback from the world. And then this creates another one from within, what you bring into the world, etc. And this is how the flow starts. Instead of anticipating everything in advance and not get go, because you have to control every little step and make it more perfect.
Right. Perfection is not the word. Evolution. I'm evolving. I'm adapting.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you know what? I might do something that's will be like, oh, why did I put that out there? And maybe I'll take it down, but I'm gonna take the chance.
Yeah, and that belongs to the process, exactly, because this makes you grow. Because
Yeah.
what if you don't do this? Because you're thinking, oh, maybe it's not the right piece. So you avoid it. What happens?
Yeah.
No
But
growth.
I'm an empathetic, thoughtful person, and
Yeah.
if it's
Yeah.
off, it's off. I'll acknowledge it, move on.
Yeah. So what would you say? What made you successful in activation mainly? What was the bottom line here for you?
Every week I took a step.
Yeah. Yeah.
Teeny ones sometimes. Yeah, but a step.
And that made you feel how to be able to do this?
More empowered. More
More
like, oh, that worked okay. Oh, that worked okay. And then,
realizing.
yeah, hitting the button on the website was so big,
Yeah.
but and it's so in its infancy. But then you realize, oh, just because you hit the button doesn't mean anyone's going to read it. Like, now comes the next stage. Like, how do you communicate effectively and get people engaged? Because it's not about me and just what I want to say. I want engagement. What do people want? What do they want? How do I interact with people?
Yeah. And now comes the actual work with the people
Yeah.
as a guide or mentor or whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. So you think like it's such a big step, and then you're like, oh, well, no one's actually going to read it if I don't take it to the next level. Yeah.
But yeah, since you had such a good experience in doing one step after the other, so why this one shouldn't work out, right?
Right. Well, I'll just keep taking steps, and hopefully with your guidance, we'll just keep moving in the right direction.
Always welcome. Yeah, yeah. So you just said already what's your next step. Yeah, would you say in these 4 months, the other was 6 months, but this 4 months also, would that was the program fulfilling your expectations or more, or what was it actually? Did you expect something different, or I mean the personal outcome for you?
Personal outcome for me was it helped me take all those progressive steps to get to a certain point of confidence. And then I know we spoke a lot about, really getting more strategic and, coming up with the mission statement. And like, I think I struggled with some of those comments, some of those concepts. I did struggle with some of those concepts. And by the very end, I was like, I think I understand. I think I get it. So I'm like at the infancy of a new phase.
Yeah. Again, another piece of a natural process. One day so I was like, oh, okay, now.
Oh, that's what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah. So, did you think you would get all these results you had in only 4 months?
No, I especially struggled on that mission statement. I don't know why it was so difficult for me, because there's so much in your head, right? So much I want, but it's not really all about me. It's about the value you bring to others. So sometimes it's about stepping out of what I want and think beyond that. Think beyond me, think about problems in a much broader sense. And then once you sort of consider that, start to narrow it down, like, what can I actually, and how am I going to do it? And that's kind of where I'm trying to, I'm working through those pieces now.
Right. And all the other stuff, that was a lot you worked through. So did you expect this would happen so fast?
No, I never thought that I would do this as much. So, in such it's been a year. And I'm just ready to, just continue to learn and grow and express myself and share my experiences and see where it leads me.
Yeah.
But I think now a lot of it was like the emotional piece, the confidence piece, the clarity piece. And
Mhm.
then, the activation, like, what am I going to do about it? Right? What am I going to do with this new knowledge? And then now I'm at the point where I've worked through a lot of that, and I feel like I'm entering a new stage where it's like, okay, let's put this all together.
Yeah.
Let's make something useful. Let's create something.
Yeah, you go always with what is first, right? When the emotional part is on top, so you work through the emotions first.
Yep.
Whatever is there, we always go with what is to do now, right? Today. And then
Yes.
go ahead. And then at the end, you put it all together more and more faster.
Yes. Now comes, I feel like now it's like a little bit more of the work stage, like putting it all together, coming
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
something solid that I have to offer the world.
Right. And yeah, and as we all know, the positioning, the mission, the positioning, and all this is it's a process which is anyway ongoing
Mhm.
all the time. And when it comes from a personal purpose, what you did, you just enter the next phase.
Yeah.
And doing on a business more level, which is fluent. Let's say
Right.
it's a fluent transition. It's never only this or that. It's just all you, right?
Right.
So it's another natural evolution into the next kind of own depths of yourself to be more clear. And this is you will
And it
be.
has to be you. It has
Yes.
to come from, because I one day I typed in to ChatGPT. I described some of the stuff. I was like, what should my mission be? And it kicks out something generic. And it's like, no, you don't understand me at all. Like, you could take shortcuts. You could, and you can be successful perhaps with the shortcuts. But if you really want to get, be authentic and really use your creativity to create something that's unique, there's no shortcut.
Thank you for that. I agree with this. You can have helpful tools, of course, but everything has to come from you so that you are the boss, that you own it, and you will feel it if you own it or not.
Yeah, it's too easy to rely on like what's been done before.
Yeah. Because with anybody wakes up you in the middle of the night and ask you about something which ChatGPT was writing for you, then you're like, what? I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, it's not there. It's not part of you.
Exactly.
I want to share a little piece of me with the word. For better or worse, I want to share a little piece of me.
You are already. So
Yeah.
do you want to share what your next step is? Oh, you did a little bit already, or yeah.
I'm working on and again, I'm still in that discovery period. Like I still am working my full-time job and I'm creating something for myself. But I'm working on strategy. I'm working on my positioning statement, like to be absolutely clear. Like, who am I doing this for? Who am I trying to serve and why? And the mission, like what do I really want to accomplish? And then like, how am I going to accomplish that? That's where I'm at now, so that I have a plan working, to move forward with, because I'll have it all laid out. And then it's a matter of like, okay, let me do this piece of it to the best of my ability and put my focus and love and attention into, this piece. And
Yes.
yeah, breaking it down so that I have something concrete to offer.
Yes. Yes. Right. The offer, and then you have the product, and then you're working already. And remember, this is also evolving when you just start to offer something to the people. When you're in the process, when a person asks you, oh, what this is about, what is your service really about? And then it might just come through you. So we need to keep on going and work with them directly, or start to pre-work, let's say, prepare.
Then I'm still figuring out, how I want to move forward. Do I want to be a nonprofit and provide services? I don't know, because I'm not at that place. I haven't made that decision yet, where I'm going next. Exactly. Okay. I know I'm carving out a place in the world for like-minded people to come together, to learn from each other, and hopefully my experiences and empathy and concern for others will shine through and help people live the best lives they can.
Right. And in that frame or new environment, let's say, just don't forget you're creating something new. Maybe it doesn't need to be in a certain definition kind of way. Is it a nonprofit or not? Whatever you
No,
create.
it's something I own that I'm
Right.
figuring out.
Yeah. Focus on what matters most, and then it will find a right legal frame or whatever is possible in who knows what happens this year, right?
Yes,
On
yes.
this
But
planet.
if I spend another year with as much focus and attention and progress as I did it for the past year, I'll be in good shape.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, almost the last question here. How well did you feel guided in the program, and through what?
Okay, well, I think that like I said earlier, the being held accountable, like I signed up for it because I knew I needed change and I didn't know how to do it. But I was desperate for change. And so when I made the decision to sign up, it wasn't super easy. I said to you, like, there was a moment where it was like, do I really need to do this and like sign up and like commit? Or could I just read books and get to the same place? I'm like, maybe I could just go to the library, or use the internet, and you can learn a lot that way. But the support that you provided and the empathy and the holding me accountable, like once I committed and I signed on, you're like, no, you said that you needed this in your life and I'm going to make sure you get it. And you kind of saved me for myself at moments.
Okay.
Where I was like, oh, I'm going to cancel, I'm too busy. But I didn't. And I remember starting being like, oh, I'm so busy. And by the end of the hour, I committed an hour to myself when I, might have forgotten myself and put everything else ahead of me. But because that hour was sort of sacred, I'd start off frazzled, and by the end of it, I'm like, oh, I'm okay. And I would actually go back to all the things that were pressuring me with a new attitude about like, oh, okay, let's put this back in its correct priority. And then the empathy, because you've had your own life journey and your own experience that you were willing to share. And then also your current lifestyle. When I'm calling you and you're in the tropics, you send pictures of all these beautiful places that you're working from. I'm like, wait, how do you get to work there? Explain that to me.
Zoom.
Because I don't know how you made that happen, but let's, so I was interested in like how you made it happen.
Yay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see how it goes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that means, I don't know, I just still ask the question. So what would you recommend to others? Would you recommend to join the programs to others, or what especially, or whatever what would you say?
Yes, it's a very proactive and proactive and thoughtful way to kind of think through how to get from A to, and maybe you don't know what B looks like, but how to get out of your current situation, to take back ownership and to figure out where it is you really want to go and why and what's your purpose. So it's very supportive, and you are, I don't take full advantage actually of a lot of things that you offer, with a lot of like your discussions that you come through the group, and a lot of times I'm too busy for them and I'm not able to do it. But I know that you have, you also provide a lot of resources that I haven't taken full advantage of, and I'm trying to carve out time so that I can do so. So, it's not just working with you one-on-one, but you do have all those other options for people to remember, what the priority should be.
Yeah. And you can do right after when I upload this video in the Facebook group.
Sure. And I'm still squeamish about being front and center in a video, but I'm getting there. This is part of my evolution.
All good.
All right.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, is there anything else you would like to share and give to the people that are listening?
I would like to say thank you, Marianne, for all your time and attention and for holding me accountable. You are not a pushover by any means. And there's moments like, oh, gosh, she's being so strict about things. But then you're like, after the hour's up, and you're like, all right, that was the right thing to do.
Good that you know that afterwards. The the case, that would be bad.
No, it's because I was not accustomed to making myself the priority, and you
Yeah.
made me the priority.
Great. So it wasn't irritating. That's our running gag.
Never irritating. No, never.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, Shannon, I would say thank you for your time that you came here to share your experience. That will help other people as well.
Thank
That's
you,
why we
Mary.
do this. And yeah.
Yes. We'll follow I'll follow your example, and hopefully one day I'll be working from a beautiful tropical island.
Yeah, wherever. I'll let you know where I am heading next. And then
Thank you, Marianne.
yeah, thank you too. And then yeah, we'll see. I post this video and you can watch it if you want or recommend it. And yeah, let other people know. And for you, all the best. And we are in touch.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.